Hello and welcome. This is Playing Favorites, and I'm Justin.
I'm Paul.
How you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing all right, Justin. I'm ready to talk about this topic.
That's exciting. It's been a little while since we've done this, since I was burning alive.
The no AC crisis of 2020 has finally been resolved. I
Yes, I'm
see.
nice and cool. I'm not sweating on camera. Yes, this is a lot better. But yeah, so I'm good to go. I'm ready to swim into some
Mhm.
cool adultsness, I guess, if you want to call it that. I don't
You're ready to get into
know.
the deep end. No kids allowed. This is Adult Swim.
That's right. But if you guys didn't know who we were today, though, this is Playing Favorites. We are a podcast that pretty much talk about a variety of different topics. Movies, video games, TV shows, cartoons, and then we just do a little bit of research because we like to talk.
Yeah, we try to figure out why something is a favorite, and we do a lot of things outside of just the podcast too. You can come and check us out over on our Patreon page. And you could be a patron too, just like 8-Bit Sean and Mac 40K Painting. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Stay that way.
But like Justin said, there's no formal rules for this. We just like to talk. And now, for those of you watching video, you can see all my awesome hand gestures as I do that.
It's on our Patreon too. The video version.
Oh, yes, our video versions of these podcasts. So, Justin, we are doing favorite Adult Swim show, right? Favorite Adult Swim show. It's hard because a lot of Adult Swim shows aren't necessarily cartoons, or they're a mix of cartoon and live action, and it's going to be very interesting to hear. It's going to be an interesting
At least
conversation.
they're mostly hilarious shows, and I'm sure it's going to be a very long nostalgia trip. And I'm really curious to see how this little game that we play pans out. But before we get there, though, you have a surprise topic for me.
I do. A lot of the early Adult Swim shows were all based on Hanna-Barbera characters.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So like Scooby-Doo, the C-Lab characters, Harvey Birdman, Space Ghost, all of them were Hanna-Barbera.
Which was
Flintstones are
such a unique idea, to be honest. Like, I mean, let's just reuse old footage and just mix
right.
it with crazy
It
things.
is. It's something that like we would do. Like remember, I don't know if now this is taking you down memory lane. For in our AP calculus class, we made a huge video as our final project. Do you remember? And one of the key points that I loved, one of the parts that I loved making the most was we took the scene from Star Wars of the Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader talking with like
that was
the
awesome.
Council, and we dubbed over their voices, talking about
so good. That was so
differential equations and whatever. Like it was good.
I was in
but
that video.
It's just like that. Like they just took the idea of like, why don't we just replace the audio with something funny?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It just seemed like our kind of humor right away.
Well, it was. I mean, just to kind of speak on Adult Swim a little bit before you give me your surprise topic. I mean, it was just like out of. We've talked about this off air, but it's like it was out of nowhere. Like this like weird show. Like we had this like liquid television of MTV at one point, which is
hard to find. Yeah, but
it was
like
a similar
when you did, it
idea,
was
similar
great.
block. Like similar weird shows, kind of, but it had like a different tone or a different vibe. This was a completely different sect. Like I don't think it wasn't the same humor as the liquid television stuff, right? It was like a different type of humor, or more our generation. I'm not sure, but like
like it's funny because I didn't think about it this way, but I was reading up on the idea of Adult Swim and how like I guess like in the beginning it and it still kind of is like a place for just like experimental television, like stuff that like a lot of it doesn't work. Like there's a lot of things that just had like a pilot and you never saw it again, or just one season or half a season. But it was like a place for like surreal things and absurd kind of humor. And it like really, it got us at like the right time. I think it was like end of high school, beginning of college.
Well,
and it was like our tastes were changing.
Well, in that time where you could finally like just stay up until whenever, you didn't have like a bedtime necessarily. I guess you could you could stay up pretty late.
My thumb.
Watching.
I'm just giving you a thumbs up to late bedtimes.
But and obviously college and stuff like that. But please let's do what's your surprise topic.
So on the subject of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, I just need to know, like, what is your like, because so many of them were used, and even in like shows, they would be like guest stars
Oh yeah, like
in
Harvey,
other,
Harvey Birdman.
like in Harvey Birdman and stuff. So, what was your actual like? A lot of them were garbage. What was your favorite Hanna Barbera cartoon, though?
Oh, just across the board.
Just across the board.
Like honestly, like my favorite. Like it doesn't mean it's not character, just the show, right?
Yeah,
What
just
what
the show. I mean, if
well
you
it
want
was
to talk about character, you
Wacky
can, but just the
Racers.
show, because a lot of them were hard to watch.
It
They
was
were unbearably
it
boring.
was Wacky Racers.
Oh,
I love
that
I love that show.
I like the idea of that show. I don't know why I just could not like that
You know why
show.
I like that show?
Why?
This is the main reason. This is like very. It's not hard to figure out. It had cliffhangers.
Uh, but
It did
like
though.
why don't you explain what Wacky Racers is? Because I'm not sure a lot of people know what Wacky Racers is. I barely knew what it was. It was
It
like a
was.
bunch of different cartoon characters, right?
It was
Like
like the Smash Brothers of Hanna Barbera, but they were or like Mario
it's
Kart.
very good.
Or I guess
Mario
Mario
Kart
Kart.
Smash Brothers of
Hanna Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera cartoon
But
characters.
literally, it's
Yeah.
just like they all like all the different characters. Like you had Scooby Doo.
Magilla Gorilla.
Yep, you had like the evil guy too, and I can't remember his name with the dog that does the.
Oh, Dastardly
Yeah,
something.
yeah, he was like always like trying
Yeah.
to mess with people the whole show, and like it's like it just like you kind of like got to like get different stories from different like racers with their cars, and they would have little mini things of like how they got through this one part of the race because it was like across like forever, and like it was a never ending race. I don't know who won, but like
Is there a winner?
I don't know,
You
but
know,
I just
it actually reminds me of that movie Death Race 2040 or something. Do you remember?
yeah.
Where like people race to the death?
Was that Arnold? Arnold was that right? Was that Arnold?
No, that's Bill from the Kill Bill series. What's the David Carradine?
Oh, okay.
He was the star in that Death
But
Race 2049.
but I guess like to be like I mean more of an honest answer. I mean, Wacky Racers was I just find the concept really funny, and they had the cliffhangers, but it literally was just them racing, and they had cool different cars. It was like almost
Mhm.
like themed cars based on their show.
Yep. Yep.
And all the voice actors were from all the shows there. I really like Scooby Doo though. That I really enjoyed Scooby Doo. I mean, it's like it stood the test of time. I mean, there's not many Hanna Barbera cartoons that have kind of outlasted the '90s.
That's true. They still have, like, most kids know who Scooby Doo
Yeah,
is, and yeah, no, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I think more people know about that than like Flintstones or Jetsons
yeah,
nowadays. That's for sure.
yeah.
Good choice. Good choice. Scooby Doo. I heard that new Scoob movie was okay.
I guess I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know who it was made for. Not for me. But yeah. No, I think my favorite, just because of how stupid it was, is Grape Ape. I really enjoyed
Oh,
Grape
okay.
Ape because all it was just say Grape Ape, and somehow this enormous King Kong sized gorilla would help them ape would help them solve mysteries or solve crime.
Well, it's like that was the kind of running thing. It's like that. It's like you have a group of teenagers and a random animal. That was
Hmm.
like you had that. You had Jabberjaw. I actually like Jabberjaw. He was cool. Um,
Jabberjaw was cool.
I don't know.
What part of Jabberjaw did you like? Did you like his stuttering, his annoying nature,
I
his
guess
incessant talking?
I appreciate
Please.
Hanna Barbera. I don't know. It didn't. I liked their characters. I have no ill will towards Hanna Barbera. Is Johnny
I
Quest considered Hanna Barbera?
Yep, Johnny Quest.
See, I like the
I watched a
newer.
lot of that too. I
I
like
like the
that show. I
newer
didn't even think
version of
about that.
Johnny Quest. The newer ones of Johnny Quest are really good. The new adventures of
Oh,
Johnny Quest.
oh yes, when they went in, there was like the 3D world too.
Yep.
Remember they would do that?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, into the yeah. I remember those. I like that. They did that with a few shows. They did that with like He-Man, they did that with Johnny Quest, but they like modernized it a little bit. I thought the Johnny Quest one was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good, good. I actually think that what they did on Adult Swim was an improvement upon the Hanna-Barbera cartoons because they're garbage, really. It was all that people had, though. Like, that's what my brother said. He was like, I can't watch Scooby-Doo now because it's so boring. He's like, but when I was younger, this was all we had, was like Scooby-Doo,
Like,
Magilla Gorilla.
I did like the Scooby Doo shows a lot. Probably the one I watched the most though, just because I did like the mystery aspect of it. Whether it's not like
It's kind of a cliffhanger. Who's it going to be?
Who's it
Going to
gonna
take the
be?
mask off?
I mean, but like I did like that kind of like finding the clues, because there was that kind of like sense of sleuthing a little bit in there. Yeah, you had like the silly characters of like Scooby Doo and stuff, but then you had the young adventures of Scooby Doo, and that was good stuff right there.
I like that show. That show was good. No, a pup named Scooby Doo.
Pup named Scooby Doo. That's right.
Yep, I love that show. That show was good because
Mm-hmm.
it made Fred seem like kind of like an oblivious jerk,
Mm-hmm.
and Daphne was like a valley girl, and Velma was not so nerdy, but she was more like a piglet kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
Was very smart,
Mm-hmm.
and Shaggy and Scooby were actually
The
like
same.
pretty funny. No, it was a decent show. I like that. Pup
Yep.
named Scooby Doo
See,
had a great intro song too.
Hanna-Barbera had something going for it. It's just they were at that time
That wasn't Hanna-Barbera though. Like it was long after there. That was like, we'll pay Hanna-Barbera to use your property.
I know
can
that,
we
but I'm
use
just saying. But they did create some interesting. I'm sorry. I'm trying to give.
timeless characters?
Yes, timeless character and Jabberjaw will never see again, unfortunately.
Like I could never understand. As soon as he'd start talking, I would just change the channel instinctively. Like I can't take this. I'm sorry.
I did never. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking my mindset of like when I watched it as a child. Like I'm like I didn't mind it, didn't hate it.
Oh,
I don't know. Are the Smurfs considered Hanna-Barbera? They're not Hanna-Barbera, right?
the Smurfs? I don't know if they're Hanna-Barbera, but I would lump them right into that era too.
No, I mean, the same. It's around that time. That and the Snorks and all that stuff.
Snorks, the Snorks are, which makes me think that maybe the Smurfs are Hanna-Barbera. Unless the Snorks were like their own ripoff, like the Smurfs were its own thing, and then Hanna-Barbera was like, well, we can do the Snorks. You just hear somebody in a boardroom going, well, what is with these Smurfs? I could make something like this. I'll call it Snorks.
They're underwater. It makes it different.
Yeah. Well, how are we not going to get sued? It's underwater. It's like,
they're not blue.
Okay.
They're pinkish colors.
They're pastels.
I think I mean in art school, I think if you change someone's art 85%, it's not considered stealing their art anymore, or something like that. I can't remember. There's actually like a legal.
If you change something 85% of it, it becomes yours.
Yeah, there's some sort of legal percentage, and I can't remember, but I feel like 80. It was pretty high. I was like really surprised. I was like, oh, so I could just like paint a line over something, and now it's considered my artwork.
Nice. So we could be drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa or something, and
yeah, I guess so.
Keep doing that.
Yeah.
Just
like
embellishing the scene,
or making a cartoon with Mona Lisa, kind of like Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, with just Mona Lisa as the host.
Mm-hmm. She's a very boring host. She's got nothing really, important to say.
Anyways, so you
no, go ahead.
Well, I mean, as far as like, what was your favorite? Like, I mean, unless we want to talk about this later in the show, but was there like a favorite, I guess, Hanna-Barbera character representation on Adult Swim that you really loved?
I mean, okay, I liked Grape Ape just because it was a funny show, but I guess in terms of like one that I watched as a Hanna-Barbera show that was turned into like an Adult Swim show was Harvey Birdman. Because I watched a lot of Birdman, and I thought I kept thinking, I was like, why doesn't anybody watch Birdman? Like, this is not bad. Like it was okay, it was fine, but it was even better to see them turn Birdman into like specifically Harvey Birdman, and then a lawyer is like completely like change the character.
Yep.
And the way they went with that show was just like perfect. It was like, because all the Hanna-Barbera characters are coming to be on trial, or like they're being accused of murder, and it's all like kind of related to their shows. Like one of my like it's I'd say,
I know,
like,
I remember watching
before and after, it's Harvey Birdman.
I feel like that came out at a weird time because and I brought this up in multiple shows, like I couldn't watch Adult Swim for like a long time.
Yes.
Because we didn't have
You were out of the loop.
I know, we didn't have it on the network station back in college. Like, it just wasn't available. Crazy concept that, yeah, you can't get that station. Sorry, you don't live in the right place.
You can't get Cartoon Network, or you don't live in the right zip code.
I know, it's like, and then eventually we did get it. So I feel like that's why I missed Harvey Birdman a little bit, because I think it came out right around that time. Because I don't think it was, because Adult Swim started when we were right at the end of high school. and I don't think
Yeah,
Harmony
it's
ever bring him till later, right?
yeah. Strangely, I think Adult Swim started like the week before 9/11, like literally like that,
Oh,
like the
that's
1st or 2nd of September. Yeah,
really.
like really close. That everything just got like
But some
pushed
of those
back until like
some of
the
those
winter.
shows were already out, like Space Ghost, like that before that official
Yes,
like block,
Space
right?
Ghost Coast to Coast, Cartoon Planet, which was kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon version of Coast to Coast without the interviewing, just like Zorak and Space Ghost and
Hmm.
Moltar having banter.
Yeah, because I
Um,
remember like one of our friends, that well, one of my friends in college was obsessed with Brack. So like I remember he
yeah,
loved him in Brack in
yeah.
high school. So like he made an album. I think he even bought the album because it was just great.
I would have at that time. I would have because it wasn't called Adult Swim just yet. It was just like this, like an
Late
hour and a
night,
half or
yeah.
2 hour block. You know, like at midnight or at 11 o'clock.
Hmm.
That like I just found on just by staying up watching something and just flipping through the channels and seeing Space Ghost Coast to Coast for the first time and thinking I had just like struck gold. And I was marking the time. I was like, it's Saturday, it's 11:30. I'm back here next Saturday at 11:30 to see if this comes on again because this was awesome.
Yep, yep.
And just the yeah, literally like waiting a full week to
Great.
see if it would show up again.
Hmm. No, absolutely.
But
But well, let's go take a quick break to talk more about what we watched on Adult Swim.
all right. And we're back. Now, Justin, you have your first honorable mention for favorite Adult Swim show. Have you been binge watching, going back and watching a little bit of these shows?
The problem is I only binge watched what my favorite is, so I can't talk about anything else. The thing is, we have this game that we play, right? And we tend to really like align very similarly with a lot of shows, but
hmm
there's a few that we don't. So I'm trying to see which one. We don't share the same favorite. I have this feeling. I know this feeling.
Okay.
We don't share the same favorite, but oh god, I'm trying not to mess up the thing and stuff. So I'm gonna do some shout outs first. Okay,
Okay. We're gonna test the waters out.
I'm gonna shout out
All right.
C Lab 2020.
Right on. Good
Okay.
shout out.
Um,
Fun show.
I the thing is that with Adult Swim that I have a hard time with the show, and I think it's gonna be a really fun show, and I feel like you're gonna help me make this fun because you're gonna spark my memory, like no, like because you know it more than I do, I think. But C Lab was a very very funny show, and I
Yes.
can't remember
Yes.
anything about the show except that it was very funny because it was just
Bizarro.
yeah it was just like that's the thing with Adult Swim was a lot of randomness. I was like I'm watching some C Lab clips, and it's just the
hmm
delivery of the lines and just like the antics that happen. It's just like the very awkward long pauses that they would have
hmm
sometimes.
Silence, like
And
complete silence. You hear
it's
like
just like
chairs squeaking.
and you get that really weird Hanna-Barbera drawing where it's just like nothing's happening. You
hmm
know, it's like I'm gonna do it on video right now. And then it's just I don't know that show. I remember that was sort of like that locker room or that water cooler type show that you just would talk about it. Like
yeah.
that one part where the captain said this one thing. It was so funny.
Yeah, they're like that's the thing. Like so much of it was like the people, the voice actors, like the way they deliver the lines and how just kind of like weird it was. Like they weren't like episodes. They were like that was a timeless episode. It was just like, huh, like that was silly and stupid and kind of funny. Like okay, I like what you did there. That like one of my favorite episodes is the Bizarro episode
Bizarro
where
was a good one.
they have like they're like evil
Mhm.
twins of all
Yep.
the but the one who plays the I forget the doctor's name, the black doctor, I forget his name. Anyways, his clone turns into is like a small like duck type thing, but is like kind of like a albino ginger version of him and like also a duck, like a penguin. I don't know. It like
Mhm.
came out all deformed. But all I could say is like Bizarro, I love you. Bizarro, I love you. And the yeah, the captain, like the good captain, like the regular one is like, I love this guy. This guy is
Mhm.
great. But yeah, no, it was just like it was a lot like Space Ghost in that it just took the same footage. It didn't really add much to it. It just like put them in like new situations. I
Yep.
love the dude. I forget his name. I think it might be um, Stormy,
I
or
don't know.
I don't know. He's the guy who's always sitting down, who's got like a microphone on. You never see him standing
Oh
up.
yeah, he's always like like talk. Yeah, I know what
Mhm.
you're talking about. Yeah, that's right. I know.
And
I
he's
know.
he's like seriously evil. Like he always has like some plot that'll end up either killing other people or destroying the space station, or like the sea station, the sea lab. And Eric Estrada from Chips actually did the voice in the
That's
show.
right. I do remember that now that you say that. I was watching some clips though, and it's just like it just
It's a
was so
good shout out.
yeah. It just was really funny, and I can't speak a lot of it to it. So, but I guess my first honorable mention, and I'm gonna roll the dice, and I'm really gonna hope that it's not your favorite.
Roll those eyes.
I'm just gonna say Space Ghost Ghost Ghost.
Not my favorite. So
I literally like for the longest time when we first started this episode though, like I didn't really remember again that much about that show because it was just
Mhm.
again that weird randomness thing. But I remember that was another really big one. I think that's why we ended up watching C Lab, was because of Space Ghost Ghost to Ghost. It's like, oh, there's
Yep.
another one that's like that show. Let's go watch that one too.
Yeah, Space
I,
Ghost paved the way.
and I was watching some of the interviews because that was the one thing that was so weird about that show, is that they actually had live action interviews, and I was like watching some clips, and they're just so they're like the a modern day version of the what's that the Between Two Ferns, like
Yes.
a little bit. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like,
It's absurd, and it's
but
like
it's a even
they're
more
not even
awkward.
talking about the same things at the
Yeah,
same time.
it's like even more awkward. But like I was like watching like Jon Stewart was on that. Like he was super young, and
Yeah.
he almost like sounded like a ghetto like rapper dude. Like he just like he didn't like didn't sound like, because he was very New Yorker. You know, like it didn't sound right because he was looked a lot younger. Like he looked younger
Uh,
than we are now. So it's like it was really kind of almost like, you know,
like the typical New Yorker kind of accent kind of
yeah,
thing
like he had a
he's
big, like he had a
doing.
baseball hat, and he just like you didn't really see. I didn't even know it was Jon Stewart at first, and I was just like, man, it's just like that's Jon Stewart. Like he didn't seem like that Daily Show host, that presence that he gives on those shows, right? It was more just
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, dude, what's going on? Like, hey, how's it going? I'm Jon Stewart. Like it was like kind of more relaxed, I guess, and because
Yeah, before the Daily Show actually became like a sort
yeah,
of serious
because
political commentary show.
he was on doing the Daily Show when he was interviewed on that, because he said, "Oh, you're a
Hmm.
talk." That was the thing, they were just talking about being talk show hosts together. Like
Yep.
there
Yeah.
was no substance to the interviews, right? Like it's like I don't, I just I don't know, this the randomness of Space Ghost, like the random banter with Zorak, like even the
Hmm.
guy with the mask,
And he would
like
just Moltar, yeah, and he would just destroy Zorak periodically, just like burn him to a
yeah,
crisp.
no, I do have to give
Mhm.
that show a lot of credit though for being weird, being funny, being what you needed at 11 o'clock at night. You know, it's like it wasn't like you don't really need to think about it. It's like and they got some really big random. I was like watching one. It was like Woody Harrelson, and
Mhm.
it's the thing. We're probably going to talk about this later, but like I was watching clips. Was Aqua Teen Hunger Force like introduced on this show? Because
Yes,
they
their
show
first
up,
appearances on Space Ghost.
but
Yeah, that's where they got the idea for the show.
they look nothing like him except for Meatwad. He's the only one that looked right.
Frylock, I think, still looks like Frylock, but
No,
he's like
he like
he's. Oh no, you're right. He's
he's
got
like
like legs and he's crinkle cut fries. Yeah, yeah. Never mind.
yeah, he didn't have the
Master
beard or
Shake
anything.
kind of looks like
Yeah,
Shake,
but
but it's a little
his
different.
the voices were different too. I think the
Hmm.
voices were the Moonanites. They sounded like the Moonanite voices. When I
Oh, I think those. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's only like two or three people that do the voices for those and for Aqua Teen. So I think, yeah, yeah, definitely. Shake's voice was different. I think Frylock's voice, yeah, was crazy sounding. It was
yep,
like
and then Meatwad was the only one they kept the same. But I
yep.
just it was when they were introduced, it was Woody Harrelson, not Woody Harrelson.
Hmm.
Willie,
Or
who's a musician? Willie Nelson. Willie
well,
Nelson.
Willie Nelson. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I remember the Willie Nelson one. Yes, now
and it's just
no
like
Willie Nelson.
it's just like Willie Nelson just sitting there the whole time, not really saying anything, and just chaos everywhere.
Hmm.
Just like
I it's like they interviewed them and they basically said like, look, we're going to use some of your interview. It's for a cartoon show. Like we might cut it up a little bit. Like it's not going to be like a typical interview. And they're like, okay, whatever.
it's
My
like
favorite one is with the lead singer from Radiohead. Tom York is on it,
yep,
and Bjork was on the same
Bjork,
episode.
Bjork,
So
yeah,
he marries Bjork in that episode.
yeah.
Space Ghost
Yeah,
somehow,
she
and
was
then
great.
Tom. Yeah. Tom York is like talking with Moltar, like in the back, like because Moltar like brings in the guests like
Yeah,
by pulling the lever. So he's like talking with Moltar. Then Space Ghost rushes in holding a CD. He's like, "Hey, Moltar, make me 100 copies of this Radiohead CD." And he's like, "Is that the lead singer from Radiohead?" Ah, crap. Just like,
I saw that today. That was what I was binging before the show today. But this is the one thing.
oh,
This is the
nice.
one thing that I loved about Space Ghost. I'm gonna kind of do it. You have to go to our video thing to see it. But like, it's like when he'd be like at his desk, and then all of a sudden he'd go, "Dee, dee, 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 dee," like he like scooch forward
Oh.
closer to the TV,
And like,
and it was like this little
you just kind of
squeak.
like move
It was
forward
like a
slightly.
squeaky
And did you
sound.
hit her? Something like that.
It's just like because it's again that
I like
awkward
when he does like
silence.
random movements to the power belt, like to his power bracelets.
I was watching one where it was with the Hulk.
Flexes.
They had the Hulk on
Oh
it.
yes, they have like a flex off competition. Hulk Hogan. Oh man,
But
that's a great show.
Mark Hamill was on there once, and then that was actually funny because
Mhm.
Mark Hamill didn't really say much, but he's just like what was it like? What was like? It was Zorak. Like what was it like working with Darth Vader or something like that? Like James Earl
Mhm.
Jones is great, and then Zorak's like David Prowse, and then Moltar's like no, and then
That's funny.
it's just Zorak saying Prowse, Prowse.
Remember that? I remember that. I don't remember Mark Hamill, like his face,
Yeah,
but I remember Zorak going, "Proust, Proust."
he's like who's the one that led that like brought the people down the aisles of the Death Star? And Moltar's like Ewoks. It didn't make any sense.
Oh man, I miss the banter between the three of them. It
Yeah.
was so good. And then like Brack would occasionally appear, and they'd say like what are you doing here? It's not like we're doing the Thanksgiving episode. Halloween. Like they'd be like, no, god damn it! Like they would always be like who let him in here? He got his own show, the
Yep.
Brack Show, which was
Yep.
terrible.
Yep.
Just wasn't good. His best is on Cartoon. Was it Cartoon Planet? And then on Space Ghost, man. Such a good show. It really did pave the way
Yeah,
for
and
Adult
I
Swim to
knew
happen.
I think I had a because I was afraid that it would be because I know you've brought that up as one of your honorable mentions. We've talked about Space Ghost
Mhm.
before on this show,
One of
but
my favorite cartoons,
yeah,
yes.
so like but I finally got a chance to really kind of relive it because it's been so long, it's like and like you can't really rewatch things like you couldn't watch it's like you got it, you consumed it, and like you said we had to schedule
Mhm.
times to see it. Like, oh, we don't do that anymore. Who schedules times to do anything anymore like that, right?
Yeah,
It's like, but
it's true.
what you saw, it's like, oh well, on to the next one. Like,
Hmm.
oh, it's good stuff.
They had Tenacious D on there. A lot of musical acts, man, and a lot of like. I remember they had the Ramones on there, and Zorak was such a huge Ramones fan.
Oh my god.
Like, you know how like in any talk show, like when they introduce like the host or Space Ghost, Zorak does like a little solo.
Mhm.
He like extended the solo out for 2 straight minutes of him just like playing the drums, like
That's right. He had drums. He
like
had his
just
music.
going and going, playing the keyboard to play the drums, of course, in his
Yeah.
little prison pod. But yeah, they played like for like a 14-minute show. They played 2 minutes of him just playing the drums on the keyboard, and
You.
like Space Ghost and Moltar being like, are you still playing? Really? Like, are you gonna stop? Like, not saying anything, but just kind of like getting closer and like
Yeah.
looking at each other,
Yeah.
looking at him.
Well, it was funny because I was watching clips of it earlier too. Like, I mean, so this segment up, and it's funny how like they're just trying to show like best interviews or something with the best interviews clip, and
Mhm.
like you're listening to the interview, but then there's like other random things being said in the background that have no connection to what the clip was about. And
Mhm.
it's just like Zora going beans, beans. Like I don't even know if it was beans or not, but him just saying like random words in the background. Like this must have been something late earlier on that I'm not understanding or whatever. Like.
I like they would do that when they were like an actor or somebody. They would come on. They'd be like, "And we have a clip from your upcoming film," and it would be like nature footage of a cheetah like eating a zebra or like eating a gazelle, and it'd be like the cheetah, devours its prey immediately and
That's
then
really
drags
funny.
its carcass up a tree. He's like, and then it comes back to space. Goes, how about that? You know. Well, you sure carry that film. Like it was just such fun.
Yeah.
humor, like taking like a talk show template with Hanna-Barbera characters. It was very good. You kind of brought up my honorable mention. It's high up on my list. It's one of my favorite Adult Swim shows. It's Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh,
Like,
that's
yes,
not
they
your
did get their
favorite. That's
not my
oh
favorite.
man, I'm
They
scared for your favorite now.
now you're you don't know what to do.
I think
Um,
no. I think I've narrowed it down, and I don't like it. But go ahead.
Aqua Teen is like, especially its first like 4 seasons or so. I don't even know like how they separated into seasons. I don't think they knew. They were just
Well,
like,
I think I read
we
it.
made like 8 of these. Here you go.
Yeah, I think
And we're like,
they said it's their longest running show. Is it still being made?
I do not know.
That's what I
I
saw on
don't know.
Wikipedia. It's like Akutime. It was its longest running show,
Wow,
and I'm just like,
cool.
really? It's like this stuff. Like Robot Chicken's still going on. Like I'm just like, why is this
That I do know.
Why is
Yeah.
this stuff still going on? But like, I'm like, geez, I mean, obviously, I guess I grew up or something. I don't watch Adult Swim anymore.
Well, I don't know if this is your honorable mention or favorite, but I'll shout it out just because you mentioned it. Robot Chicken.
Yep, we'll talk about that.
Okay, so for Aqua Teen, like if it's still on, I imagine that it's just doing the same thing that it's always done, just weird and random shit
Yep.
happening to
Yep.
those three and Carl. Some of the best episodes are Carl episodes, though.
That's true.
And like that, really, honestly, like the first and second season to me were like the best.
Yep.
The third season was great, but when you did I've always liked the one with the MCP pants. I love candy, bubblegum and taffy. Like the it's a giant spider in a diaper.
And that's MC Chris, right? That's plays him.
Yes, that's MC Chris who plays him, but he's MCP pants, and it's like a little like baby rapper, I guess.
I know you told me that before.
Yep. I want candy, and the whole like the scheme is what is just like mind boggling. He's writing a song to get people addicted to candy, so that they'll then come down to this warehouse and then plug into his machine, and then their like hyperactivity will power a drill into hell that will release ancient demons that he'll control. Like that's the whole point, is to open a gateway to hell. Like, so he'll do it through a rap song targeted towards kids eating candy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just
the funny thing about Aqua Teen Hunger Force, because of like the weirdness of it. It's like one of those things. It's like my dad would watch that show, and he's like yeah, I watched the show before. Like,
really,
you watched this show? And he's like, yeah, I was just going through this surfing channels, and I stumbled on this. It's so weird. You have to stop, right?
mm-hmm.
It's like, what is this? There's a milkshake and a
yep, French fries and a meatball.
So you just stop, and it's just like there's just like you don't know what's going on, so you just sit there and like trying to understand it. It's like this comprehension entertainment of like, really, what is the point? Why is this being made, and why am I enjoying it? It's like you don't really quite understand it or know it, because they're really just horrible people. Really, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, it's sitcom-ish in that it's like, oh, it's the same characters in the same place, in their crappy house, and same, neighbors and side characters.
Yep.
And I think a lot of what made Aqua Teen so good was Shake's kind of like terrible behavior and kind of like non sequitur way of thinking.
Yep.
So like I just remember like I would do this all the time. I thought it was because I would hear it, and I thought it was just the funniest thing. So like whenever somebody would say like, well, they'd say like, oh, how long is that going to take? And they'd be like, well, it's going to be about, it's going to take a little time. It's going to probably take a while. And you just go, well, but that'll take 1,000 hours. And just like the way that Shake reacts to things, and like his immediate like off the cuff, some of it you could tell was scripted, and some of it you knew it was just like them like dicking around on the microphone.
Sure.
And in particular, like just making Meatwad's life like a living hell. And
oh man, he's horrible. But he's horrible himself too, I've noticed. Like he shoots himself in the head all the time. Like he's like always beating himself up. He's like Shake himself. I was watching like a Best of Shake clip show.
Oh, nice.
And it was just like him, just like cutting Meatwad in half and just like doing horrible things. It's such a horrible show, but there is so much like I don't know. They made this really weird world that made sense but doesn't.
What really like worked for them was the side characters, and
Yeah,
I could just say one thing, and you'll completely agree if you haven't already, and that's thousands of years ago.
of course.
It's just perfect.
Yep.
Mwah. The cybernetic ghost of Christmas past from the
Yes.
future. And then the Thanksgiving
Screams
special where he
party.
was a turkey.
It
Yeah.
screams party.
See, so many lines of that show.
Now,
We
my
took.
favorite one of my favorite episodes or favorite lines from that show. I mean, we've talked about Cybernetic Ghost Christmas Past, which is a phenomenal show. Like if you have to watch one episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, watch the Thanksgiving
Mhm.
special. That
Yes.
because I feel like that one's better than the original Christmas the first Cybernetic Ghost. I like the Thanksgiving one.
You okay? I like the first cybernetic ghost because it's Danzig is the guest star at the end because
Oh,
they Carl built an above ground pool on an Indian burial ground so that all of the a Native American burial ground. Excuse me, I'm just using the words used in the show,
yes,
but like the pool fills with blood
I remember.
instead of
Yeah,
water.
yeah,
Yes, and so they're trying to sell like Carl's trying to sell his house, and who buys it? But Danzig, like from the Misfits and his own metal act, Danzig, and he's actually a guest star on. He's like it's his voice and his character on the show, and he's like, "Does this blood come up like this every day?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's full of blood." And he's like, "That is bitching." He's like, "I'm gonna get some fountains and some gargoyles. It's gonna be awesome." Like he's like found the house for him. It was a pool of blood in the backyard. But no, man. I feel like I could watch it and then I could remember like the side characters are really what make it. The Moonanites,
yep.
you know,
Well, that's my favorite.
uh,
One of my favorite
Ignignok and
lines is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Thursday,
Friday.
Friday, Saturdays. That's like one of the best episodes when
Yeah.
all their villains
Yeah.
come together to like. It's like, why don't we like? What do we call ourselves? How about Got Villains or Super Mega Awesome Guys?
But
I
I
said
know
it first.
this is not an Adult Swim, but I have to say the best moment I think and was going to see Aqua Teen Hunger Force the movie with you. Like it was
Oh my
just
god, dude!
like
That's like one of my favorite movie
I think that was
experiences.
the one movie that I was like overly like when I got out of it, I was like, wow, that was way better than I thought it ever could be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
We were not expecting it to be nearly as entertaining as it was. We thought it was just going to be the show, and the people that we had brought with us, that we dragged with us,
Yeah,
were like okay, like we'll go, like we know a little bit
sure.
about this, and then it just turned into this like meta thing, like about going to the movies,
Yeah,
like because the beginning of it is that like let's all go to the lobby
yeah.
thing, but it's
We'll run you
different.
over
And
after the
if you
show.
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I want to watch that movie again. But yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Well, that was
Mhm.
I was gonna bring that up. I knew one of us would. I
So
couldn't
Justin,
imagine it.
spoken here at length. What's your next honorable mention?
Oh, now this is tough. I've run out of options to pick.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna just pick one. I'm gonna use this as like I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, even though it might not be considered. Some might not consider it an Adult Swim show, though it was one. It just didn't
What's that?
start there, and I'm just gonna say Futurama.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Because
it didn't start there, but that's where it got popular.
yes, I mean I could say shout out to Family Guy too, because that's where I kind of really got into Family Guy. Because I had watched
Same
these
thing.
shows on Fox when they first came out, and I liked them there. But literally, like they work so much better at that like Adult Swim block than being
Yeah.
like locked into like the I don't know the Fox animation block, I guess if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it seems like they fit in better to Adult Swim, and that's where they got their popularity. That's where like why Fox bought back Family Guy and like
Yep.
decided to like, all right, we'll give them another chance.
Yep.
Um, yeah, same thing. I think like in Futurama got like it's like what was it like two movies, and then
Yeah,
like
they
it
got
came
movies,
back for.
and then Comedy Central brought them back
Mhm,
for like
that's right.
seasons and stuff. And And am I remembering correctly though? Is it maybe it was like, and maybe I'm wrong, because
Mm.
they didn't do commercials mid show, right? They would just show the show, and then there
Yeah, it
was a
was.
commercial. And I think
They
that's
were for like Family Guy or Futurama. They would do commercials at commercial breaks.
oh, they would. Okay, I couldn't remember.
But I feel like they wouldn't do as many. Like they
Yeah, and I
would
think
they
that's
would do like one or maybe two. But you're
y-
right, like because especially because they were 22-minute shows. Sometimes they would show them, and I think they would put a commercial like at the halfway point, and that
yeah,
would
and
be
that's what
it.
I felt like. There was a lot of like there was like breaks, and they would put those little either like segue things or like bring up
Hmm.
Adult Swim a lot, but then have a lot of commercials in between the shows versus like filtering in between. And I feel like that's really what helped those shows a lot more too. Where because I feel like if you get like say Aqua Teen Hunger Force, if you had to like watch a bunch of commercials amongst that, I feel like it wouldn't be as wouldn't be as fun to watch. Like just kind of binging an episode of like 20
Sure,
minutes.
sure,
So,
sure.
but I think that helps with a lot of those like comedy shows. But as Futurama is just there's just so many awesome moments, and I can't quote them all, and I'm bad with remembering comedy shows, but like it's just things like Bender and like and Fry and just that crew. It's just it had such a weird satire on like modern day society where
Hmm.
every episode seemed to really hit home. Like it really had some sort of message to it, which was it made it even more funnier because of it too. So
It was surprisingly like a tender show. Like it would do these things with Fry and Leela that would make you know invest more in the show than just think like, oh, it's just a stupid cartoon show about the future. Like it
hmm
actually had something to say, and sometimes it was just a stupid, funny cartoon show.
hmm
But yeah, no, there's definitely like that bit of like Simpsons humor that we were all kind of familiar with, but it was definitely different.
hmm
And I think it took people like a lot of time, like most people, I guess the mainstream, to like really get used to that type of humor, and that like it wasn't going to be the Simpsons in space, that it was a different writing staff, a different way of looking at it, but the characters are similarly designed. No, man, I love that show. I like there was a time where I think the early days of Netflix streaming where it was on there, and I just started at season one, episode one,
Yep.
and just like went through it and
Zoidberg,
really
like
enjoyed it.
there's so many
Oh
like
my God, Zoidberg is the best.
there's so many awesome characters. That's the thing with that show. Like I feel like you have a good cast of characters in The Simpsons, but by making it in space and making Alien, they could be a little bit more crazier and do
Yeah,
weirder things with them because you're dealing with a future, you're dealing with alien races, and they just like even like his what's the doctor's name? F-
Zoidberg.
no, not no the
Maybe Zoidberg.
the scientist guy, the older guy.
Oh, Farnsworth,
Far,
Professor Farnsworth.
like him the way he just like I don't know his delivery of information, how like his thought process of things, and I don't know,
How
it's
he
just
gets like suddenly angry all of a sudden,
yeah.
like sometimes. Like, Professor, why didn't you tell us that? Because I didn't know it. Like I forgot. Or he'd fall asleep like during a crisis.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's so hard to really describe why I like that show so much, and I can't really remember. I can't even bring up episodes that I like love. Like I love like I guess like the one character like is the sort of like the sort of the parody of like Captain Kirk. Like I love his
Oh,
character
Zap Brannigan.
and like his
Yes,
assistant, and
yes.
it's like oh boy.
Kip. Sir, we can't do it. It's against the galactic law to do that. Against the law. When has murder become against the law? Like I love Zap Brannigan, and like he's always like poured into like a tight suit or something that like invariably like spills his gut out or
Mhm.
something. Yeah, no, he's a great like Kirk kind of character.
The
I
one
love
episode
that.
I thought that was really funny though was when they had to deal with pollution for the first time in like a long
Mhm.
time. There was like a whole where like they didn't know how to handle pollution because it just had been like I guess gotten rid of all of a sudden in the future. So like
Okay,
like
we'll
there
go
was
with that.
it was like an episode where like so they had to use Fry's like mentality, just throw it on the ground, it doesn't matter, just throw it. And I guess they ended up like just making a big ball of garbage and throwing it into space or something like that. I can't remember.
I like their commentary like on that, and like like global warming, where they go to a comet and like take the ice off of a comet and then just drop a giant ice cube into the ocean, and like
Yep.
that solved the problem of global warming, at least for the next 22 years until the comet loses all of its ice.
Yeah.
And then like that day finally comes and like it gets so hot and they find out it's from robots. But yeah, so I think the way it resolves is robots all like point their exhaust pipes like up, and they move the earth slightly away from the sun a little bit more, and so they actually gain a day. And because the president is the head of Richard Nixon, he's
Yeah.
like, I declare this day
Oh.
robot party day, and they just have a big party.
I love the.
I'm gonna go get some cigars, good
I
ones.
love the use of like heads to bring in like a modern day celebrities too.
Yes,
Like
Al Gore.
it was such a like and like it's like they even use like celebrities like are really old too. It's not like, oh, we're just gonna keep people from like the 90s, right? They're gonna bring
Mhm.
people back from like the 60s and 70s and make them a head. You
Well,
know?
they tried to bring back as much of the original Star Trek cast for that episode. I don't know if you
Yep.
remember that when they had like their bodies back, they weren't heads anymore. But it was, what's his name?
William Shatner.
Yeah, Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and I forget the lady who played Uhura.
Okay.
They had them like their actual like voices. I thought that was really good.
That's awesome.
It's really fun.
No,
And there was, of course, a red shirt guy that died for no reason. But no, man, great choice. Great choice. It's been a while since I've seen a Futurama episode.
yeah, I haven't
I'll
been
look
me
into
too.
that again.
Yeah, me too.
My other honorable mention is one you're well aware of. You've been dying to hear this. You're just wanting to know what is what. It's Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Great job.
I'm gonna go leave. You can tell everyone why you like this show. I'm cracking open a beer.
Don't leave. Hold on, I'll leave for a second. No, so Justin, come on.
Just so you know, listeners, he's
Laugh
he's
at
leaning
some
into
stuff.
he's leaning into the camera with such excitement.
Come on.
I explain why
you know there was stuff that you liked on that show.
Explain why you like Tim and Eric. Awesome
so
show.
This is also a shout out for
show.
Tom Goes to the Mayor, which was their attempt at making a cartoon show.
That was weird.
It was weird. They didn't know how to make a cartoon, but they were like, we're comedy writers, but we're gonna try and make a show. They just took still images and like move between them, and if you did it fast enough, kind of looks like animation. It's like somebody going left and right on a keyboard.
It's
going,
like it's like squiggle vision without the squiggle. That's really all it
was. Yes, without the squiggle, just a lot of staring at someone's face and one facial expression.
Well, it just it wasn't just still images. It was just like blue outlines. It was like blue outline still images. It wasn't even like completely colored in.
I remember I discovered in I think it was in Photoshop. I played around like one of the first, some video editor. I can't remember the name of it. You would know it. Like one of the first like really popular. What was the Adobe one? Damn it.
Final Cut Pro.
Yes. The first time I actually like looked at and played around with it, one of the features, like so easy to find, was to turn the people in the photo just like them, and Tom Goes to the Mayor. I'm like, they didn't do any work. Like they just pressed this like.
They had to render it though. It took a long time to render those things.
Oh, I'm sure. But Tom Goes to the Mayor was pretty funny. Tim and Eric, awesome show. It's just like a sketch show, and it's good, man. That's where you get Dr. Steve Brule, and then that spun off to Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule. That's John C. Reilly.
I don't know what it was. I don't know why I couldn't like it. It turned me off so much.
One of the best episodes is when they have Neil Hamburger on there, and he's telling terrible jokes to them while they're trying to like bring a VHS tape of the show to Adult Swim headquarters for them to play. And
like, I'm sure that there were sketches I liked, but there's one sketch that I couldn't stand. It drove me crazy.
What was that?
And it was like the spaghetti thing. The
spaghetti. But it was like making fun of like shows like Punk'd or those like hidden camera shows. It was just like a guy with spaghetti sauce on his on his lips and like a weird like
It was
balding,
so
long
disturbing. It
ponytail.
was so disturbing. He looked like a
Yes.
zombie that had just eaten brains, but it was spaghetti sauce.
So they would say like they would show like a guy who's like Manuel takes out the garbage, but he's not expecting a little surprise from Spaghetti. And he's like, Spaghetti is in the dumpster, and he goes and he like throws a bag of garbage, and he pops out and goes Spaghetti and gets hit with the bag of garbage, and they just kind of like stop and look at each other, and the worker just like, who is just like a dude, not like an actor or an extra. This is just a regular dude whose probably job this is. He just like looks at him, looks at the camera, and then just walks away. And he's like yelling like spaghetti, spaghetti,
It's so funny.
like he's supposed to know what it is. But they would do like after that was awkward enough. Like 5 seconds later, they would show it in black and white in slow motion,
Yep.
and they'd be talking about it. And it'd be like, this man with long tail just jump out of the out of the dumpster and say spaghetti at me. And then you see in the background, in black and white, him going spaghetti like in slow motion.
But yeah, there
It's
was
just
like
so
it's
stupid.
so weird how like you got like Will Ferrell was on that show too. I was seeing like I
Mm-hmm.
was watching like a clip show of all the best like shows on Comedy Central or on Adult Swim,
Yes.
and that was listed. I'm like, why you people do not know anything. Like this
Don't be a dick. You people don't know anything.
but
It's a fine show.
this is the one thing that I have always disagreed with you on. Like for some reason, I don't disrespect you. I don't disrespect the show. I just somehow just cannot absorb the pleasure into watching Tim and Eric Awesome Show because it is not awesome.
It is awesome. It's a good show. You just don't know what you're talking about. You haven't watched the right ones.
Oh,
You don't give it a chance. You should give it a chance now. You'd probably have the patience for it now.
yeah, right.
You
My
have
lack of
children. You have to listen to stories sometimes that just don't go anywhere.
I'll watch it with them. Great idea. I'm gonna do that. See what
I didn't
happens.
say that. Listeners, I did not say that. I said he should, now would be a good time for him to enjoy it.
Is there anything about Tim and Eric other sketches on there you want to talk about?
I mean, their movie, they made the movie. It's okay. There's like a few good, a few funny things in there,
They didn't go to the
but
theaters, did it?
I don't think it made it to theaters.
Okay.
I don't know. It might have. I really don't know. But the first like 20 minutes of the movie is great. As Robert Loggia as their enemy who's chasing them, and he kidnaps their mothers, and it's just these two old women, and Robert Loggia like beats them up like a real like mob shakedown. And it's just these two old ladies. One lady is just like, ooh, and the other lady's like, this hurts, ouch. She's like a terrible actress. Like she's not even an actress who's just like, read these lines. Oh, that hurts. That stings. Ouch, my head and neck. It just like, I mean, that's what, I don't know why it's funny because one of my favorite skits that they would do would be movie reviews with Terry Bruges Hiplo, and it's this weird looking dude who's just like hunched over and like, next movie I'm going to talk about, Dumpster's Children. I give it 2 wet kisses out of 5. Like that's it. Like it's like what the fuck.
So
It's like the last thing you want to
Well-
hear this dude talk about is 2 wet kisses.
Well, I'm ready for a break if you want.
You need a break. All right. Everybody go out and watch Tim and Eric Awesome Show. You too, Justin. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. Here we go. Justin, we are at the finish line of our favorite Adult Swim shows episode here. And why don't you tell us, what is your favorite Adult Swim show?
Robot Chicken. I brought it
All
over.
right.
I mean, literally, like it's just like like the rest of Adult Swim, which is sort of, they all have the same vibe, has that kind of like, I guess, weird random vibe. But like I like the pulp cultureness of Robot Chicken a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff in there, so I mean, obviously that's another thing too that works out for me. But I remember like the first few that came out, and everyone talked about that show. There's just so many random things, and I was watching a bunch of clips. That's what I was doing up last night, watching it for hours and on. And I'm like, wow, there's been a lot of stuff they've made of this show that I have
Yeah,
never seen. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's like actually pretty hilarious. I don't even know how to even give stuff. I mean, but I'll say like my favorite thing has been the Star Wars specials for that. I
like their
mean,
Star Wars stuff enough, like alone is like great as it is. Like
yeah.
I think it's even better than it's better than the Family Guy
Oh yeah,
Star Wars.
I couldn't even get through the Family Guy ones. I mean, not that I just never really after the first Family Guy one, I didn't really care if I saw the other ones. Like it didn't really entice me too
Yeah.
much. But like I was so excited for like the Star Wars special, and then they were gonna make another one. But
Hmm.
like I love like using Akbar, like doing like it's a trap, like all the way like the commercial for things and stuff like that. I don't know, it's just
Yep.
really
It's like
funny.
it's a trap cereal or
Yep,
something like.
I just love it. Obviously, Palpatine's skits are
Yes,
phenomenal.
these are the
Um,
best. Wait, it blew up. What do you mean it blew up?
what's an
What
aluminum
the hell
Falcon?
is a Millennium Falcon?
Aluminum Falcon.
Aluminum Falcon.
Oh,
The hell is an aluminum
he's
Falcon?
crying.
Oh, he's crying. It's okay, big guy. Oh,
It's
okay.
like hold on, I
Okay.
got another call. I got another call. It's like, oh, what do you want? What do you want? Where they go? Lunch? Do you want to order lunch? Where are you going? Give me a turkey club. Uh, Coleslaw. I'm not gonna eat it. Oh, cherry coke.
Cherry Coke.
I just
No, it's good. It's like the right kind of humor for that kind of parodying of things. So like most of it's like toys, that are used in like as
yep.
like stop motion. Like I'm really like impressed with the way they do stop motion on
Hmm.
that show because it's really like it's expert level.
Yeah,
It's
the
really
later
good.
shows, I wonder if they still do the action figures because they had a weird CGI ness look to it, and I don't know if they're still doing it or they just changed maybe the action. Maybe they're looking using more modern day action figures that look more, I don't know, shiny. But
They could. They could be.
I just some of the things in there like they're just like really like they really stretch really far with some of their sketches, like using
Mhm.
really old school like 80s cartoons and bringing that action figure, the GI Joe stuff. Like oh man, like I was what was one? It was like one I was watching where it was like it was a sketch of like it was a gummy bear, just like gummy bears, and it's just like it just gets his foot caught in a bear trap,
Oh my
and then it's
gosh!
going
Yes, it's bouncing here.
ah.
There. Yes,
But then it's
very
like
graphic.
but it has to chew its leg off to get out because it's like,
Yep.
oh, it's like, oh, I'm delicious.
Is it bad if I taste good? No, no, I remember. Oh man, there have been so many like there's a few like reoccurring characters, like the nerdy guy with glasses,
Yep.
like the little black glasses, and but it's funny because they use that show to talk about pop culture and like current events, just like in the now, like in the moment. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like South Park a little bit in that it does try to like stay fresh.
Yep.
It does try to like hit like current events and what's going on in the world.
But it also is
I'd
like,
be very interested to see it if it was running right now, like what it would be doing.
yeah, like I mean, it's like I also like the one thing about that show was cool is like it was like it had like almost like sort of little like nerdy fantasies like were played out like the thing you make what happens if this actually happened kind of a thing, and then they would play it
Yes.
out like it's like I mean
Mhm.
like they had the scene with like Luke and Leia actually in bed smoking a cigarette afterwards, and it was just like
Mhm.
not that was like something I've always dreamed to see. It's just like they went the next step, they went
Yeah.
the farther like the really far out. It's like, well, what happens, like the one sketch I saw was like the whole thing was like April and Shredder like were at like a Halloween mass party, and they ended up like falling in love with each other, and like it's just them keeping the
Oh
secret from the
god.
turtles, and then
Oh my god, I need to see that.
and it's like
Shredder in April.
the
Jesus.
turtle animated figures are like the old like comic book versions though, like so they're like weird
Mhm.
like
Like
weird
white eyes and like
yeah,
yeah.
like they look like that. It's like just and then like it does like a sketch. It does like a parody of like Romeo and Juliet at the end because they're on different sides of the thing. So she does like the poison, and like at the end, Shredder thinks she's actually dead. So she, in his anger, takes his Shredder things and goes, "I can't believe you're dead," and starts killing her with her Shredder.
Oh.
And she's like, "Didn't you read the letter? Don't you know Romeo?" I don't know. It's just like stupid humor like that. It's just I thought it was like you don't really
No, it's
laugh
good.
like
Yeah, like it's not like laughing out loud, but it's just like, huh, like I would never have thought of that, or like, hey, like I've always wondered.
but
That would be funny to see.
I'm laughing more telling you the story than I was
Hmm.
actually watching it because like when you're
Of
watching those
course,
things,
you're
you're
like,
just like
hey.
it's like you're like half asleep. Like this is different. This is funny. But now I'm telling you, and I'm laughing in the process of telling you.
There's
Uh,
something about, and I mean, like here we are, like late at night, recording a podcast. It's like
mhm.
there's something about like watching something, you know, silly and kind of stupid late at night because it like
Mhm.
amplifies its humor.
Yep.
It's
Oh, we
that
know.
like level of
We know that.
tiredness. We know that we know that pretty well. We know that level pretty well.
Mystery
You can
Science Theater.
forgive a lot. You can forgive a lot of things from a movie or a TV show if
Yep.
you're like in a certain state. And you're just
Well,
like, okay,
and that's
I
why
can
that
let
thing.
this happen.
That's why that humor worked. But I mean, Robot Chicken.
Mhm.
It just there's just something special about, and it was never that long. I think the initial shows were like really like only like 10 minutes long. They're really short.
Yeah, it used to be like the 12 to 15 minute, and then they gave them like a full half-hour slot.
Yep.
And no, I'd be that's a good choice, man. I gotta look them up again. I gotta see if it's still airing now. Because if it's airing now, I would love to see what they were doing
Oh,
like right now.
the Adult Swim YouTube thing has tons of clips too. So you could just
Yeah,
like you can get. That's what I was doing last night. I was just like watching clips. I could.
excellent.
I had to like make myself turn off. I'm just like because that's the thing. You don't know. It's like a mixtape of like comedy. You don't know what
Yeah,
to
there.
expect. You,
It's just like static in between. It's just like that, and
yep.
like here's a new thing, a brand new thing.
Yep.
That's like sketch show at its
I guess
finest.
they did a DC special too, because that was part of one of the things.
Really?
Like I saw the
Oh
end of
shit.
the DC special. It was like I was so confused by what was going on. It was like this gigantic battle with a starfish, and everyone joined sides, and it's like like at the end, uh, uh, what's his name? Bizarro married the monkey character. I forget his name.
Grodd?
Yeah,
Gorilla Grodd?
yeah,
Bizarro married Gorilla Grodd?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I hope they're happy. Such a weird. I'm gonna have to look that up. DC Robot Chicken Special. I didn't even know about it. Well, very fine choice of, and like also like a classic choice for Adult Swim, right? Because
Hmm.
I think Space Ghost has been like a big tentpole like in the beginning, and then like Robot Chicken was the one that like got people into it because those clips were traded a lot. Like people were circulating those when we were in college,
Yep.
like the like 1.5 2 minute videos from Robot Chicken.
Hmm.
Hello.
Just so you know,
I
listeners,
fell down.
his camera fell over.
Excuse me, I fell down for a moment. I'm better now. And I'm ready to tell you what my favorite is. I think you've guessed it now. We've gone through it. It's Metalocalypse.
I
It
wasn't sure if
is
that would be I wasn't sure because you really like Aqua
well,
Teen. That's what I
I
wasn't
really
sure
do
on.
like Aqua Teen, but like here's the thing, like I really had to think about like why I liked Metalocalypse because it kept just like coming to the top of my list. Home Movies is one that I'm going to give a shout out to
Yep.
because specifically it was Brendan Small, the guy who created, like wrote and was behind Home Movies. Metalocalypse was his baby too. He's like an accomplished metal guitarist.
Hmm.
He's an amazing guitarist on his own. So like the show itself, like the animation is flash animation, so it's not great. It doesn't age well. There's lots of
Like
holes in it, and
I
you can
remember
kind
when
of see through it.
yeah, I remember when it came out though.
But
I didn't mind it. Like it was actually looked
no,
really
no,
good.
yeah, like it's like they put the resources in the right place. So like when they do like close-ups of Squigor
Yeah.
doing a guitar solo, the animation is super tight. It's really nice. But then like sometimes there'll be like a wide shot of all of them, and like Toki is see-through, like his shirt is see-through, like a person passes behind him and you could just like see them. But so like it's not like perfect by any means, but the show itself, it's funny, but there's a lot of humor for people who like metal. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the first episode had, I think, every like 3 members of Metallica as guest voices,
Oh, really?
and like every part of it, I think, like even the name of the grocery store in the first episode is the name of like some Swedish metal band. You know, like there's just tons of Easter eggs packed into that show for people who love that music. And I like a little bit. I'm not going to say like I'm a metalhead. I love like I love some of it, but I'm not as into it as, you know, some people are.
Mm-hmm.
But those of you who have or who have like listened to it, you would probably, you know, get a lot from watching it. But the humor is just so good because it is more like a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like Seinfeld than any other, but like it's just terrible situations. They're super rich. They have like everything at their fingertips. Like, what do? Most of the time, they're bored, so they just do terrible things
Mm-hmm.
because they can. And a lot of times they're not trying to do terrible things. They're trying to do like good things, but they end up being terrible.
Well, that's the thing. Then
Um,
in their boredom of, they never get hurt or get manned or anything bad happens to them. But then,
Sometimes, but
but
they're
like,
fine afterward.
yeah, like but like everyone else is like completely destroyed. It's like people
Hmm.
dying. Like with the first episode too, it's like people are signing waivers to accept death by
Yeah,
entering their
pain waivers.
pain
Yeah,
waivers and stuff. And it's like
the
it's
band's not
just.
liable if you get hurt at the show.
But like I think I was watching like because I was in one of the clip shows and we used to love. I watched the whole first season with you. I didn't keep going after the first season though. I was interested, but then by the time it came out, I just kind of missed
Sure,
continuing
sure.
whatever the world domination, like world leader thing was trying to stop them
With
doing.
Mark Hamill as the
Yeah,
voice of the main
Mark
leader
Hamill.
there.
Yep, Mark
Yep.
Hamill. He's like a
We
couple things.
wait.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
I think he's like
He's
their
like,
like weird like assistant guy that's got like he's like cut up or something. Like he's like an Igor type character, isn't it? One of
yes,
those.
he's the one in the first episode that falls that gets torn apart by a helicopter, I think.
I don't know.
And then they sew him back together.
Yep.
His name is Jean Pierre, and he's their personal chef. And yeah, the first episode he gets like he's like in 1,000 pieces, and they're like, I love the way that first episode ends because it gives you just an idea of like how the show is gonna go. They're like he's like they like go and they try to make their own food and it doesn't work. It's like hilarious, you know, their antics trying to get food, and they go back and he's just like a body parts all like hooked together with tubes and stuff, and they're like, well, we're keeping him alive. He's like, well, the only choice we have left is to sew him back. He's like, but we're so stupid, we'd sew him back together wrong. He's like, whoa, it's a great idea for a song. And then that's the end of the episode, and you just hear the song, sewn back together wrong, back together sewn. Like, that's it. I was like, okay, you got me. You got me interested. No, the
But
show gets pretty good. The first 2 seasons are dynamite. I think like third and fourth, it gets, but again, side characters, a certain rock and roll clown is like, that guy like made our summer one year. Like
yeah,
we just loved Dr. Roxo,
well,
the
he's the
rock and
rock.
roll
He
clown.
does cocaine, you know.
He's a rock and roll clown. He does cocaine. Chicka, yeah. Oh
I,
my god, he's so
it's just
disturbing.
the way he talks is just makes me laugh so much. I'm
Who wants to
Doctor
see me? Do
I'm
it.
Doctor Roxo. I'm the rock and roll clown. Oh
I do
yeah.
cocaine. He's like, who wants to see my music video? It was banned from music television because you can see my junk through my jumpsuit. That's it.
Oh man.
And it's totally a parody of Van Halen. Like
Mhm.
him and like his music. They're like sitting there watching it like in a horror, just watching it. No, Metalocalypse, man. I feel like if that show was still going, it would be. I think that one would definitely reserve. I would watch it if they rebooted it or something. If they brought that show back,
Mhm.
I wish I didn't see the last like couple seasons of it, but God, it was funny, and the like little references to metal and to just music in general. It was a very rewarding show. The writing was good. The
What was
humor
the
was
name of
good.
the bassist? I love him. He was
William
so
Murderface.
Murderface.
Murderface. Murderface. Murderface. Murderface.
Like the way
But
he talked was so funny. He's like, I'm so...
it's one of my favorite episodes. Was him. I was going to bring up something else, but this is better. When he decides, like, he gets into like a bad motorcycle accident. Like they're riding the metal motorcycle, like with uh, what is it, Nathan Explosion riding, and they're all like in sidecars next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all been drinking, so they're like weaving around and driving drunk. And Murderface like falls out and like skids his face on the road. And so he decides, like, he's like, I need to find. He's like, there must be more to life than just this. I need to find, the right religion for me. So he goes like, and he tries out a bunch of religions. He tries out Catholicism, and then he tries out Satanism, and they're like almost exactly the same, like the mass, the church, like everything. Like they're doing announcements. He's like, they're at the Church of Satan. He's like, "Hail Satan, hail Satan." He's like, just a reminder that not to park in the neighbor's lot because he will call the cops and they will come and tow your car. Hail Satan, hail Satan.
Oh my
and
god!
then Murderface gets up. He's like, "Is there a bar nearby?" He's like,
I
"It's all the
I
same.
remember this.
You're all the same. Does anybody know where a bar is?" And he just goes back to drinking as exactly the same place he started the episode, like that led to this whole spiritual journey. Is like, fuck it. Let's just go drink. This is terrible.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Well,
on that note, Justin,
yes, I'm surprised that
this
we
has
talked
been
this
quite the
long.
journey.
Yeah, I didn't think we talked that long about Adult Swim, but hey, there's a lot of memories, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing next week, Paul?
Justin, we are going to talk about something that's underrated. We're going to talk about our favorite underrated movie. A movie maybe that we love, maybe not everybody else loves it. Doesn't matter if it was a critical success or not, because most of the time what we're going to talk about are
like the
probably not critical successes, but
the mainstream perception of something. Like it's like it's like, it's like I think
something to us about these movies, needs to be remembered. They're good.
Yep.
Good, bad movies.
Or I think or we think they're good. They might not be that good.
We might like them because they're bad.
But yeah. So this has been Playing Favorites.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Justin.
Let's do it again next time.